afternoon, everybody.
How you doing with the East Coast time?
Good. It feels good to be back home. So
Yeah.
I'm an East Coast guy, so I'm fine with the East Coast time.
So Phil, it's I guess a good place to start. This obviously is another step or a sign of progress.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about where he's at?
Day one, and so he's to start the process of working up to speed. But it's good to have him out there. There's no time frame. That was day one.
Nick Bonino, waivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the reason you see
He met with Chris Drury this morning. They had a meeting. It was a decision that was made. Nick's a great person and a great teammate, and again, just an organizational decision.
If he clears, will he stay?
I'm not going to comment on anything that about. I don't know what Nick's intentions are, so it would be wrong for me to comment on that. But like I said, I've worked with Nick for quite a few years, going back to Nashville, and just can't speak enough about him as a person, and just a good guy, good teammate. So,
Where do you think?
tough day with regard to that.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's.
Where do you think Igor's game is at? I mean, he's had in the last couple of months, he's had a few good streaks, and then maybe some kind of ups and downs a little bit.
I've answered this, I think, pretty honestly with regard to my response. I think there's always, like any player, there's always a moment in time you wish you had back, or there's a save, or whatever it might be. I think he works so hard in practice. I think he competes so hard in the games. There were times where the score got to the wrong side of us and we gave up too many goals. I truly believe in those instances, and I said it immediately, we needed to do things better with regard to the noise of the chances that we were giving up. And then when we keep the game in front of us and we don't allow such quality chances off the attack, we're a lot better off as a team, and our goaltenders are more protected. And so the responsibility lies on us to do a better job in front of him. But I don't think it's ever perfect with a player, any position. There's always some ups and downs, but I do think that when we give him the support, he's done a really good job. And when we haven't, it's on us, because it's just been a little bit too loose in some of those games that we're talking about.
He's a guy, and I'm sure he's been around many goalies over the years who put a lot on their own plate and take a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Do you have to talk with him and say, look, nobody's looking at you after some of these games, and that to just try to...
I say it, what I'm saying to you is oftentimes the meeting that I'm giving to the players when I'm showing what it is that we need to be better at. And so it gets communicated in different ways, but probably the most effective way is in talking with the team, discussing what happened in the game that we're talking about, or the previous game, or the games before. And so maybe one game you let it go and you don't say anything, you fix it or whatever, you go about your business, and it happens 2 games in a row. It's something that you present to the team and say, this has got to stop, we got to be better in these areas, or this was great. So we didn't give up much off the rush in the last 2 games, and so we kept things in front of us and we did a much better job, and this gives us an opportunity to be successful. Doesn't guarantee it, but it gives us an opportunity.
Starting tomorrow, is there an opportunity in these last 2 games to build something going into the break that you can follow through on after?
Yeah, I mean, right now, just looking, I think you get a chance to, move to maybe 5. If you win a couple games, I don't like to get ahead of it, but you win 1 game, you can move to 4-2-1. Win another game, you can move to 5-2-1 in a short stretch and build off of that and take some positive momentum into the break. There's no doubt about that. And so we've got to be focused 1 game at a time and show up and be ready to compete. But certainly we would like to go into the break feeling good about what we've done in the last bit of time.
Does that make this little point in the schedule, do you feel like it's a critical moment for this team in a season? Like, is this one of those critical moments?
I don't think it's, I don't want to make this sound like, it's not a big game. It's a big game. You know, it's Vegas, and we just played them, and we didn't get the results that we're looking for. So we want to fix that problem. But there'll be other. You might ask that same question in 3 weeks from now. Do you know what I mean? And so I think we want to approach this game like we've got to do a better job. We've got to win a hockey game. We've got 2 games before we go on a break. Let's dial in and focus and make sure we're ready to play. Is it make or break for the year? I can't answer that, you know. So yeah, but I thought that's what you were.
No, just, at points in the season, you have the most, like, those.
Yeah. So is it a critical point? We'd like to win these. We'd like to win these games to keep things, get back on track, win hockey games, go into the break, and come out of the break knowing that you had a little bit of success in six or 7 games prior. You put a winning record together, and you started to push in a direction that is going to move us up the standings as opposed to staying at 500.
A lot of the guys talked about urgency today. I mean, it's an easy word to use,
Yeah.
but what does it take in terms of commitment, or how does it happen?
Urgency for me is usually work. You know, it's usually the energy you put into the game, and that's good. If that came from them, I wasn't in on those conversations, but that's a good word to use.
Are the breakdowns you're seeing now, whether it's rush chances against or a play to the puck that's got to get out but doesn't get
Yeah.
out, are they happening more in this last stretch of games here
So
than it was earlier?
to be honest with you, if where they're probably happening the most was the games that we were shooting 45, 48 pucks on net, you know, back to I think it was St. Louis, Vancouver, Montreal. In those games here, last, you know, if you just go to the last game against San Jose, there was a miscue. There was a good face-off goal. I mean, they won it back. They ripped it. They got a redirect. Got somebody in front of the net. They redirected it, and then, like I said, the overtime goal. I don't know. There's two really heavy, hard picks there that took our guys out of commission, and I don't know if that's necessarily can be just thrown into a blender and saying, yeah, this is what's going on. Anaheim, I thought our guys fought hard in a game that was hard to win because we went down 2-0, and but yet we stayed with it and we pushed. We didn't give up much in either game, and yet you know, it's different. So I don't think it's just one thing. It's never just one thing, you know, and so you keep moving with it. But there was a point to what you're saying where it was a little bit too noisy off the rush. I think it's quieted down a little bit, and so that wasn't necessarily the reason why we lost the San Jose game.
You swapped a couple of your D pairs today.
Yeah, they were moved. You know, we had moved them back in the Anaheim game, and it looked good. They had been moved previous in the course of the year, and we're just practicing today. We're just looking at it again, but you know, their numbers were pretty good together, and they've had some good outings together.
When you have Lindgren and Schneider together, do you feel like you've said Braden's been real good for you. Do you want maybe someone who's a little bit more consistent with him, just to have that third pair be, you know?
You know, I think it's a little bit of a different makeup for that unit. You know, it has the chance and the potential to be maybe more D-zone starts and some heavier opponents and some harder minutes. And you look at Fox and Gustafsson, and maybe it lends to the offensive zone a little bit more. But like I said, the numbers for those pairs when they've been together have been pretty good. They've been positive units. Not that they weren't the other way. I still think that they were positive, and again, it was just practice today.
Considering the amount of games you guys have played in the last month, 6 weeks, whatever, is the break coming at a good time for your group?
I don't know if we played. You may know the answer to this. I don't know if we played many more games than other teams, or if we played less than other teams. I feel like everybody's probably in the same mix within a game or two of each other. There might be an outlier that has 5 games less, or somebody who's played 4 games more, but I think everybody's in the same mix. The break is what it is. It was on the schedule. We knew it was here. We knew it was coming, you know, so whatever we're going into that break, and that's going to happen, and it's going with all teams. So we got to finish strong, and then the plan will hopefully be to come out of it and be hitting the road running.
Okay, I just have one more that deep hairs, if you don't mind. You know, Miller Trouba, we've talked about you rely on them for some really difficult minutes.
Yeah.
But if you just look at, you know, goals allowed when they're on the ice first half of the year versus second half, or, you know, if we cut the season in half, it's been increased recently. Now, some of the defensive breakdowns in front of them, I'm
Yeah.
sure, lead to that, but like, what are you seeing any differences there?
So it's just stuff that I just mentioned. I think we went through a spell where we had slipped, and just with regard to some of the things that we were giving up off the rush, the louder chances lead to the better percentage of goals, right? And so we were giving up a little bit too much there. Since then, we've tried to clamp it down. We've tried to bring it back down. And I think we have a little bit, and so we'll continue to try to do that. But you're right; they do draw heavy minutes, hard minutes, and you know, oftentimes when you're playing against the other team's top line or top lines, those breakdowns lead to probably a higher percentage of finish, just because those are the players that, you know, score 70 points, 60 points, 90 points, whatever it is. And so maybe there is a correlation there, but I think the biggest thing is to try and quiet down, you know, how we're playing the game. And so there's been a couple of good signs with regard to that recently.
So no thoughts of maybe giving them a different look?
Not at this point.
Okay, and thank you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.